Hey folks, how you doing? I have a cold, but I'm still going to bring you the best in indie horror here on Low Budget Binge as we revel in a strong anthology of horror shorts, cabbage-eating zombies, house-sitting haunts, and Freddy Krueger light with a bigger hat. Time to start binging. Welcome back to ML Miller Frights, a part of the Kings of Horror Network. I'm ML Miller. While you might be watching this video on the Kings of Horror Network, I urge you to click over to my ML Miller Frights YouTube page and give it a like. Please share with all of your buddies. Click subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to ring that bell for notifications. Low Budget Binge is where we venture down the path less traveled and look at low budget, no budget, and sometimes international films that never get that top billing you see with the usual Hollywood fare. I'll indicate in the review down below where you can find these films along with their trailers. Here we go. And Amityville Poltergeist is new on demand and digital download from Breaking Glass Pictures. It's directed by Calvin Morie McCarthy and written by John Ashley Hall and Calvin Morie McCarthy. In need of quick cash, Jim, played by Paris Bates, takes a house-sitting job for the weekend, not knowing the place is haunted by evil spirits. His friends think it's a great opportunity to party, but they weren't counting on those pesky poltergeists. An Amityville Poltergeist is a zero-budgeter populated with non-actors utilizing the barest of camera expertise and sporting haunted attraction fright makeup. For those used to polished cinema, you would have to give this one a hard pass, but if you're like me and try to look past the no-budget exterior, sometimes there's some fun to be had. And I did have some fun with an Amityville Poltergeist. Sure, the Amityville title has been beaten like a red-headed dead horse, as you can't trademark an existing town. This means we have everything from Amityville Island to the Amityville Clown House. There's even an Amityville in the Hood, believe it or not. Can't wait for the Amityville Doghouse or the Amityville She Shed. I'd better stop, I'm giving them ideas. Still, an Amityville Poltergeist at least tries to be scary and accomplishes that goal quite a few times with an abundance of jump scares and authentically scary imagery. Yes, that imagery has been stolen from The Ring, The Grudge, and just about any other J-horror film utilizing a creepy pale girl with hair draped over her eyes. But the scares are actually there in this one, and I have to give it to them for setting up some decently suspenseful scenes and making me jump a time or two. Don't get me wrong, I'm against these Amityville movies because they dilute what is actually a tragic and harrowing story, and this is a pretty low-budget flick hoping to get attention by using the name. They don't even attempt to find a house that even looks like the original iconic home for the exterior shots, and the interior shots look like they were filmed inside a dorm room. But it was an okay zero-budgeter. I've definitely seen worse, and I'd recommend it for those who can handle no-budget flicks. The Mad Hatter is new on demand and digital download from Blue Fox Entertainment. It's directed by Devaney and written by R.V. Romero, Armando Gutierrez, and Devaney. A group of psychology students take a trip with their professor to a mansion in the hills rumored to be owned by an eccentric millionaire who threw decadent parties. It's also rumored to be haunted when the last party ended in an inferno, killing all of the partygoers. When the kids arrive at the mansion, they meet an odd staff, led by horror icon Michael Berryman, and begin experiencing nightmares alluding to past traumas. While the professor conducts sessions with each of them, the nightmares become more prevalent, creeping into their waking life, and behind it all appears to be a mystical being known as the Mad Hatter. I want to start off positively and say that writer-director Devaney has a wonderful eye for making gorgeous and nightmarish imagery on the screen. This is a film on a very small budget, but Devaney's previous work as an art director on such films as Doctor Strange, Men in Black 3, and other high-profile projects shines through. Devaney makes what could be a very low-budget film look much more extravagant and grandiose due to some simple set designs, some nice camera work, and some decent CG. It shows that Devaney has potential to do great things, as this is one of the better-looking low-budgeters I've seen. Unfortunately, the Mad Hatter's script is problematic. Basically, this is a twist on a Nightmare on Elm Street, and it doesn't seem like anyone is trying to hide it. The Hatter himself is a burned shadow man in a hat. He doesn't speak, which sets him apart and makes him less scary as Freddy, but he utilizes the insecurities, traumas, and tragedies of the kids to haunt their nightmares and waking hours. And while each of the kids seem to have their own issues worth delving into, the film takes an excessive amount of time to get to them. It also seems to get to the boring ones quite thoroughly while simply grazing over the more interesting ones. I feel these are missed opportunities, and the filmmaker was distracted with other aspects of the film to get into these meaty psychological issues. We get to see one of the sessions Professor Hart, played by Armando Gutierrez, has with the kids, but after that we really don't get to see any therapy going on revisiting these traumas. It's also surface level, and it didn't need to be. I can understand the low budget preventing the film from going into a deep special effects showcase, but some scenes that actually delve into these kids' problems would have made the film feel much more potent and rich. Instead, there are multiple scenes of Val and Ian making out, the kids sneaking into a basement to steal wine, the professor creeping around the house, and Ian chasing his ghost sister around the halls. The story drags seemingly to fill time, but I think a little more effort gone into the story phase, and this could have been a really great film. The Mad Hatter also drifts to a rather aimless and anticlimactic ending. Sure, the fates of the kids are decided, but there really isn't anything of heft that happens, and it's really unclear of what does happen. There's not a lot of time spent on making the Hatter more than just a CG monster in the shadows, so there's not a lot to do with the character as the threads of this tale begin to come together in the end. The effects are decent, the look of the Hatter himself is somewhat interesting, and I like the subtle nods to Alice in Wonderland. The acting actually holds up decently, though Berryman is once again delegated to a non-speaking role, which is a shame, since I think when he has been able to speak in films, he's been great. But they simply use him as something spooky for the scenery. It just feels like another missed opportunity to incorporate the Hatter's staff as other Alice in Wonderland characters, and if any film needs a Texas Chainsaw Massacre style dinner scene, it's this one. But alas, that doesn't happen. The Mad Hatter has potential, as does its director Catherine Devaney. I feel good things are in her future. The Hatter highlighted some of them, as this is a very good-looking film, but the problematic and listless script really does it a disservice. Zombie for Sale is new streaming on Shudder. It's directed and written by Lee Min-jae. A down-and-out family of grifters cross paths with a zombie created by an unethical pharmaceutical company and use him in a get-rich-quick scheme. The zombie's bite seems to imbue the bitee with extra energy, vitality, and super strength. Unfortunately, those effects fade over time, and those who receive this miracle cure-all turn into mindless zombies after that. This premise sounds familiar. It's funny that the same big pharma that we have all rallied against in previous years for rushing through testing to churn out drugs capable of causing unknown side effects has become the U.S.'s new savior in this modern day and age. But if you're looking for a story that offers up quite a resonant message about putting all of your eggs in one presidential message, basket, look no further than Zombie for Sale. Taking quite a few pages from the international sensation Parasite, Zombie for Sale also focuses on an eccentric South Korean family of con men and women who are just trying to make it in this harsh world. While that Academy Award-winning film had its lighthearted moments, Zombie for Sale is all lighthearted most of the time. Even when supposedly scary stuff happens, things are done in a broad and cartoony fashion that tells the viewer this isn't a film to be taken seriously. Zombies for Sale is undeniably likable as a film, as it really does offer up some goofy antics to chuckle at, and while everyone is acting for the cheap seats, it still manages to be funny, if not a bit too long, with a runtime of almost 2 hours. This one even ends on a lighthearted, pro-family tone that will warm the heart of even the coldest cadavers out there. There's even a romantic storyline reminiscent of Warm Bodies about the initial zombie, adopted by the family, and dubbed Jong-bi, played by Gamram Jung, and a teenage daughter that I'll qualify as downright precious. His love of biting into cabbages instead of human skulls is a sight gag that works even on repeated usage. Each of the eccentric family is likable in their own weird way. Now, none of the laughs had me on the floor or losing fluids unintentionally, but Zombie for Sale serves as a rather sweet, all-ages horror film with a sentimental and tender side all the way through. The effects are close to nil here, so you don't really have to worry about gore for the younger viewers, as the zombies kind of just look like people who haven't bathed in a while, with some dirt schmutz on their faces and some tousled hair. It's no Train to Busan, but Zombie for Sale is harmless horror that manages to comment more about our current global situation than it most likely intended to, as it was made in 2019. Watching it now, and one can't deny some of the similarities. I was able to simply enjoy this downright sweet little farce centering on a wonky family and their pet zombie, appreciate it for what it was, and simply have some fun with it. You don't always have to have gross-out gore, somber despair, and post-apocalyptic scope to make a watchable zombie movie. Zombie for Sale proves that. Finally, we have 100 Candles. It's new on-demand and digital download from Devilworks. It's directed by Guillermo, Lockhart, Nicolás Onetti, Victor Català, Daniel Rübesam, Tony Morales, Nicholas Peterson, Oliver Lee Garland, Brian Deane, and Christopher West. It's written by Morie Croche, Guillermo Lockhart, Oliver Garland, Carlos C. Tome, Daniel Rübesam, Linda Bosch, Tony Morales, Nicholas Peterson, Matt Roche, Christopher West, and Alan Lazer. 100 Candles is another anthology made by gathering a group of short films from various directors and tying them together loosely with a wraparound tale. Now, unlike most of those anthologies, this one actually seems to have put some thought into the wraparound, where a game played by 4 young and adventurous storytellers encircle themselves with 100 candles and tell a spooky tale for each candle. The film doesn't get around to tell 100 short stories, but the 7 it does deliver are better than most. Here's a quick review of a few of the 7 shorts. When Demons Die is a somber and extremely well-choreographed story of a young boy and his caretaker living on a country farm. There appears to be some kind of threat lurking outside in the cornfields and in the nightmare fog, but it's unspecified just what it is until the end. The story really highlights the concern the central caretaker has for the young boy, who apparently isn't allowed outside. There's a twist ending, and I get it, but I also think it isn't communicated completely well and is necessarily vague. But the highlight of this short is that it looks amazing, and I hope to see more from director Daniel Rübesam in the future. Black-Eyed Child is another good-looking short that is much more ethereal and nightmarish as a sickly, elderly woman wanders about her home, which seems to be haunted by specters of death. This is another one that is vivid and beautiful as the old woman stumbles around her home trying to get away from this black-eyed monster kid. It's scary and moody and very darkly toned, ending with a feeling of pure dread. This is a gorgeous little nightmare. In The Visitant, Amy Smart shows up as a mother who seems to be tormented by demons that threaten the lives of her children. This one dives right into the action and keeps the intensity going all the way through. It has an amazing demon design, with the demon's mouth lit up with fire and breathing ashy animated brimstone. It helps that the demon is played by Doug Jones. I really dug the way this film twists your expectations multiple times, making it an unpredictable and action-packed short. Blight feels like an old-school Hammer-style film, utilizing authentic-looking medieval sets and speak. A young priest takes a boat to an island village to visit an ailing and very pregnant woman who seems to be possessed. After the rites of exorcism are performed, the baby is born. Things go sideways after that. This one plays things pretty straightforward for most of the runtime, only getting to the shocking stuff towards the end. The final moments are effective, but I feel it takes a bit too long to get to the big payoff ending. Still, the effects are great, and the payoff is a devious one. Drip is probably my favorite of the bunch. It jumps around in time and plays as a kind of waking dream that seems to have an established and firm set of rules commenting on the callousness of our cell phone addicted culture. A woman witnesses a dying man at a party, and instead of helping, she snaps a picture with her cell phone. This proves to be a mistake, as she is haunted by the very phone she carries. As I wrote that last sentence, I understand how goofy this sounds, but this is one that doesn't play for laughs. It really works as a suspenseful story of a curse that cannot be shaken. It's even got a poetic ending that really pays off. I love the way this one felt like an entire movie played out in just a few minutes. 100 Candles, aka the 100 Candle Game, despite its rough acting in the wraparound segments, is one of the more effective short film collections anthologies out there. The shorts that work definitely outweigh the lesser ones, but all of them are done with a high amount of skill and smarts. If you're a fan of fun-sized horror, this is an anthology that'll leave you satisfied. And now I'm tired. I'm going back to bed and resting the golden pipes. That'll be it for today. Please chime in down below in the comments and let me know how on the nose or mind-numbingly wrong I am, or you can counter with your own review. So guys, you know how YouTube works. I'd love to be able to dedicate more time to this channel. I'm not monetized yet, so if you want to help me out, remember to hit all the pertinent bells and whistles down below. Want some spooky comics to read? I have 2 new horror comic book trade paperbacks you should look out for. Both Grave Trancers and Pirouette, collecting never-before-published issues, can be found in only the finest of comic book shops. If you're looking for written reviews, you can find them on my website, mlmillerwrites.com. If you really want to show your support, I also have a Patreon page at mlmiller. Look for the link to my Patreon page down below. Thank you so much for your time, and take care.
You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your reality. You're